Hey guys, this is Roxy Comics, and I'm just sort of trying out Facebook's live video feature. The idea is I want to see how many people I can get to view this video, and if it's something that you guys are interested in me making more of in the future, I will start doing more video content. Um, so this is just a little digital postcard like drawing I did of Roxy and Marcine to send out to my Patreon uh, subscribers. And I'm just gonna be doing the line work today, so this video won't be 6 hours long or however long it takes me to finish this. If anybody's watching and has any questions, you can post them in the comments section, and I will try to keep that refreshed and answer whatever questions you guys have. If you hear a little bit of noise in the background, sorry, it's just my neighbor is cutting the grass. Sort of occupational hazard, I guess. I got a new bundle of brushes this past week, so I'm kind of testing those out and figuring out which ones I like. The program I'm using, if you don't recognize it, is called Krita, and it is basically a freeware version of Photoshop that, from what I can tell, has like basically all of the same functionality as Photoshop has. So if you're looking to get into digital art, I highly recommend Krita, and I will post a link in the comments to this after I'm done. How long did it take you to draw the sketch? I'm actually pretty fast with a like sketch. Like if it's something just like real rough like this, it usually takes me like less than an hour. This may have taken an hour because there's more of like a detailed background to it than I usually have. But ooh, animated strips. Someone's asking if I have any plans to do like animation in the future, and the answer is, since it's just me and I don't really have any experience using animation programs, I probably won't be doing that anytime soon. I do have friends who do animation, and I have worked with animators before. It's something I'd be interested in learning at some point when I have the time. Um, I will definitely let you guys know if that's something that, you know, is on the horizon in the future. Right now, I'm probably just going to stick to comics and sketches and this kind of thing. If I do any videos, it'll probably just be similar to what you're seeing right now, just me sort of drawing and rambling. So hope you don't mind. I do like Krita better than GIMP. I have heard some people that just like have had really good experiences using GIMP. I could never quite get it to do what I wanted it to do. Um, it might just be a matter of personal preference. Krita just sort of is more intuitive to me, and I really like the variety of like brushes and tools that you can get for it. So, yep. ton of mistakes while I'm inking. I'm still kind of figuring out digital line work. Like I was just doing like hand-drawn lines until very, very recently. I started to realize that like all of my art supplies kind of wear out within a matter of months, and since they're sort of expensive, I thought, maybe it's just time to learn, how to use my Wacom tablet properly and actually, do the whole thing digitally. It's a little tricky because I don't have like a tablet or Cintiq or whatever the like the professional quality like Webcomics tablets are. So I have to be drawing on my Wacom tablet off to the side. I can't draw directly onto my screen. Um, but I think it's working out okay, and I'm getting better. And I don't think there's like a noticeable change in quality other than the line work may be a little crisper on my comics recently because I don't have to deal with my scanner leaving a lot of like sort of messy artifacted edges on things. Uh, ooh, I haven't heard of that actually. The Moleskine notebooks that apparently go directly to your screen. I would wonder how precise that would be. Like, would it pick up little tiny fine lines? I might have to look into that because that does sound like something I'd be interested in. Hmm. Thank you for the nuanced Foamy the Squirrel references in the comments. You're welcome. I used to be quite a big fan of Foamy the Squirrel. I haven't watched as many of those cartoons in recent years as I did when I was like in high school, but I was a huge fan of like the Amityville Toaster. Like I think I sung that song so many times that my friends were just fed up with me for a while. So I will include shout outs to things like that in my comic when I can. And of course, like without claiming ownership of anybody else's jokes, because I wouldn't want to do that. I'm just going to zoom out here, um, make sure all the lines are reading from far away. This is probably only going to be like an 8 by 10 in the final, so yeah. Were you surprised when Roxy became popular as a character slash comic? Yes, I absolutely was. I was not expecting this to ever be popular with anyone other than myself and like 3 or 4 of my friends. So it's still amazing to me that there are people like all over the world who have seen my comic. It's super cool to like watch every week when I post a new comic. There's like at least a few shares that I get in like Mexico City or like various places in Europe, and that's amazing to me. Um, Also, do you have any projects in mind for the future that aren't directly related to the Roxy character? Well, I am sort of currently working on something. My boyfriend has written a sci-fi comic that is. I can't really go into too much detail right now because we're still kind of working on the script and the art style, but it's basically about a wrestler who fights aliens. uh, it's gonna be a lot of fun to work on, I think, and we're super excited about that. So when that's a little closer to the final stages, I will be posting links to it and showing you guys some of the artwork for it. Um, made her arm a little bit too round there. Start over. Do you also have a Twitch? I do not. I've thought about setting one up before. I guess I am not familiar enough with the platform yet to really know what to do with it. I'm still very much figuring out video. This is my first ever experience going live. So from here, we'll see where it goes. Do you start from scanned sketches? I did for this. Um, hand drawing things is a little bit more comfortable for me still than just doing everything digitally. Although I've recently started trying to learn just to use my Wacom tablet instead of you know all that comics paper and you know expensive ink pens and stuff that was sort of costing me a lot before. Um, One thing I have been doing that I find helps a little bit is I will put a sheet of paper over my Wacom tablet so it sort of has the texture of a sketchbook, and that kind of makes it easier for me because Wacom styluses or styles, I don't know what the plural of that is. They tend to be a little too smooth and a little too slippery. I tend to get some really like imprecise line work, um, which is not great. I'm gonna open this up because it looks like there are more comments here than I'm able to see. So give me just a second. Bear with me. Okay, I guess I'll just have to read them as they scroll in. Yeah, the paper on top of the tablet thing is a really good like transitional step. I'm starting to not need it quite so much anymore, but it just makes everything feel a little more like what I'm used to. So if you're into digital art or if you're getting into it for the first time, that might be something worth a shot for you too. I'm trailing in and out a lot. This is sort of a test drive, like I said, so I'm not used to uh, having to talk while I draw quite this much. So apologies if there are any awkward silences or anything while this is going on. I'll try to keep it interesting as long as I can. And probably gonna switch the position of her leg there. Actually, kind of go to this and erase that out. I'm just gonna start over. Um, over leg straight across. There we go. Mm. How long does each comic usually take to make? Um, it depends pretty heavily on how many panels each one has. Normally, I do like 5 or fewer panels, and that takes me between 6 to 10 hours for a completed comic. I tend to spend the most time on like the writing process, uh, which is maybe not what you'd expect, but it takes once I figure out in my mind like what the punchline is going to be and how it's going to be um, in writing, then it becomes easier to sort of just visualize it and go. I'm fairly fast when it comes to penciling, especially, but I'm getting better at inking as well, so it doesn't take me super long, which is helpful too because I tend to have like freelance projects and other stuff going on at the same time, so it's best if I can get a comic done and still have the majority of my week to devote to other projects. You sound just like I imagined your character sounds like. I guess that's a good thing. Thank you. I had that thought recently that if I was ever going to make like a Roxy movie or a Roxy TV show, who would I want to voice her? And I had been watching a lot of BoJack Horseman, and I think Allison Brie, who is the voice of Diane Nguyen on that show, uh, would be my choice. She just has this really like cute but intelligent voice, and that's kind of just how I picture Roxy sounding. What kind of freelance do you usually do? I do a lot of D&D portraits. So like if someone has a Dungeons and Dragons group and they want, a group portrait of all their characters, or if they want their character drawn in like an action pose or something, I will do a lot of things like that. I've also been doing just some charcoal drawings lately, mainly of like people's pets. I've had a lot of friends and friends of friends who requested like you know a charcoal drawing of their dog or something like that, and those are fun because they kind of take me back to being in college and doing like figure drawing or just regular drawing classes where you can kind of zone out and just focus on like a traditional media kind of artwork thing. Not that digital drawing isn't fun, but there's just something about like occasionally switching off and having to use like pencils or paints and just be creative. I do jump around a lot when I do these. I don't really go forward with much of a plan. I tend to focus on one area of a drawing for a little while, and then I'll just sort of get bored of it and hop to something else. But yeah, whatever gets it done in the end. A lot of foamy fans in the comments of this video. Ooh, someone else who apparently writes webcomics. We have such a different process. When I start the first panel, I often don't even know the punchline yet. I could not do that. I don't think I could uh, start out a comic and not have at least some idea where it was gonna end up. Sometimes I'll rewrite the punchline, like if I think of a slightly different wording or uh, something that would just make it funnier, in my opinion. Like I'll reword it, but generally speaking, I know where the comic is going to end up before I start the penciling. Now I'm gonna have to redraw this. This pencil is really imprecise, kind of hard to tell where everything is. I'm gonna come back to that. Mm. Should probably like not have this whole thing on the same layer. I might actually end up changing that in a few minutes. But let's see. Aw, thank you. Uh, Someone's just saying they really love my work. Uh, you're so relatable, and honestly, it always makes my day to see a new comic or a piece of work from you. Thank you so much. That is so awesome. This is crazy. Like when I first started doing this, I never would have expected that like strangers would be at all interested in what I had to say, but oh, it's crazy that there are so many of you guys. And you're all so awesome and supportive. I feel very lucky. That looks like garbage. We're gonna erase half of that and probably start over. See how long have we been going here? This video is probably nearing the 15-minute mark. Probably stick around for another 15 minutes or so. gonna stay for like the whole duration of this piece. I just kind of wanted to see how many people I could get watching a live stream, because if you can get enough viewers, apparently Facebook will, it has like an ad sharing program. I'm trying to get something out of that possibly. So thank you guys for tuning in. You're really helping me out a lot by watching this video, and hopefully if you enjoy this, I will be able to start doing these on a regular basis. $20, yeah. Yep. I'll stick around for a while longer. Yeah, like I said, if you guys have any questions that you'd like me to answer or whatnot, you can feel free to post those in the comments. It'll give me something to talk about. Oh, let's see. Got somebody from South Africa. That's crazy. It's crazy how far of a reach this has sometimes. Yeah, for those of you who weren't here at the beginning of the video, I am using a program called Krita, which is basically a free version of Photoshop. So if you are interested in getting into digital art, comics, or whatnot, I highly recommend Krita, just as a no-cost way to try that out. Um, and basically, all you need to do is like, have your computer and figure out how you're gonna get your Wacom tablet and stuff together. Um, it's just a really good program for webcomics specifically, but I'm sure there are photographers and other artists that love it too. So I'll post a link to that in the comments when I'm done. How did you pick her name? Um, we actually had a list of names at the beginning. My boyfriend and I kind of brainstormed some. I often like ask him for to be my sounding board for new ideas. I think it was down to Roxy or like Ruby or something like that. Like we wanted it to be something short and memorable. Um, and I just liked the way Roxy sounded, so we kept that. Um, yeah, someone's pointing out if Wacom tablets are out of price range, a cheaper one usually does great for you when you start out too. That's true. There are a lot of alternatives out there if you look for them. I think Huion is one, and they are pretty good from from what I can tell. I'm probably gonna redraw this entire thing. Oh, I'm curious. How much of Roxy character is you, and how much of her is an exaggeration of you? She is definitely an exaggeration of me. She is sort of. She's more similar to the person I was like 5 or 6 years ago than the person I am now. I think with really struggling with like social anxiety, like I still do somewhat, but not compared to like when I was in my early to mid 20s and like still figuring out career stuff and um, figuring out friend groups and stuff. So she's definitely a part of me, and she's uh, sort of influenced by the part of me that has a lot of problems with talking to big groups of people, going to parties and stuff. But she's definitely exaggeration as well. It's not a biographical comic, which kind of frees me up to not be so neurotic about it. I think if I were writing about my actual life, I would probably feel a little more self-conscious sharing it on social media the way I do. So this is just sort of a way to express part of myself, but at the end of the day, if people don't like it, I can still kind of step away from it and not take it as personally. Oh, sorry if I lost your question upstream. Uh, do you always have the same items in the same place? Like make a conscious effort to have the books in the same order, etc. I should do that. I should start reusing some of my backgrounds. I don't currently. Everything kind of moves around. I will have like some items repeat. Like there's just sort of a way that I draw couches or a way that I draw bookshelves, etc. But I don't have any like really recognizable backgrounds the way that like the Simpsons living room is immediately recognizable or um, the backgrounds from like uh, Peanuts are instantly recognizable. And I do jump around a lot. Like this is mm, yeah, this isn't actually for a comic. This is for some bonus art that I'll be sending out to my patrons on Patreon, which I'll also link to in the comments here when I'm done. So this is a more detailed background than I will generally use for my comics week to week. Have you ever tried the Clip Studio Paint Pro? I have not tried that. I found out about Krita like 3 years ago when I had to get rid of my Mac. So I've kind of been using that and I sort of never looked back. But if there's another program, that would be something worth looking into, I think. It's funny reading comments from people who either absolutely expected me to sound like this or did not at all expect me to sound like this. Like I'm suddenly very conscious of my own voice, and I don't know if I feel great about that. But you know, I'm glad I sound like my character, if that's a thing. My voice is also low because I'm kind of whispering. I have to share my home office with my boyfriend right now because of COVID-19, so he's working from home in the other room. Um, are you at all interested in a slice of life comic? Harvey Picar's American Splendor is a classic. I did enjoy Harvey Picar's work. I read a lot of it when I was in college, and I do tend to like just slice of life, everyday kind of material. Like it's nice to just read something that's about someone's everyday experience. It's especially if you're like socially isolated at all. It can kind of feel like you're getting a window into somebody else's life when you are otherwise pretty isolated. Um, this is sort of a first draft, I would say. Once I'm done with this line work, I will probably go back over it and redo some of the stuff that is a little bit, uh, I'll say chewier. Like this line quality here is really uneven and scratchy, so I'll probably fix that. I just kind of want to get everything laid out and see an idea of what it's going to look like in the final. Um, do you base the other characters on people from your actual life? Not really. I try to avoid basing my characters on anybody specific. I will draw inspiration from a lot of different sources, like Marcine, who is Roxy's roommate and best friend. She's based on several of my close friends that I've had over the years. She's just sort of someone who always is there to bolster Roxy and be there for her. So like I borrowed a couple of her personality traits from a roommate that I had for a while, and uh, she's just sort of like a mix of things. I'll do that a lot with my other characters as well. Like little bits and pieces will be from my life, but I don't want anyone to feel like I'm, you know, writing this about them or writing a parody of them in any way. That would um, not be what I would want. Let me scroll through here. I can't scroll through comments while I'm doing this, so apologies if you asked a question and I didn't get around to answering it. I may not have seen it. So if I don't answer your question, you can feel free to ask it again, and I don't mind. I also don't really have a way to see how many people are watching at a time. I don't think it's updating in real time for me. Hmm. All the characters felt surreal. Thank you so much. I try to make their interactions somewhat realistic, although because I want every comic to have like a punchline at the end, there's a lot of exaggeration too. So it's just a sort of balancing act that you have to do. And that's another reason that I didn't want to do like a purely autobiographical comic, as I wanted the freedom to exaggerate some things. Um, like my most recent one with the defund the police poster. Like I did go to the protests in my area, but I didn't actually carry a sign that said that, so I wouldn't really have the ability to make that point or make that punchline if it were restricted to my real life. What is your favorite or easiest thing to draw? Ooh, that's kind of a tricky one. I think most artists have like an art ability that runs in one of two veins. Like there are people that are really good at drawing like organic things like plants and people, and then there are people who are really good at drawing like mechanical or just like machinery in general. I'm definitely more of an organic artist. Like I like drawing faces and facial expressions. I like drawing, you know, plants and nature because there's just like it feels like a very free process to me. Um, so yeah, happy I'm doing live videos. Thank you. I am hoping to do more of these in the future. This one was really impromptu. Like I didn't advertise this at all. I pretty much just decided this week that I was going to test this out and see if people were interested. And also like I said earlier, Facebook does like an ad sharing thing if you get enough viewers on a live video. So I was gonna see if I could maybe do that here. So hopefully that pans out. But even if I can't monetize it, I would like to keep doing video content and probably set up something with the Patreon where like patrons get early access or exclusive videos and well, stuff like that. So we'll see where that goes. So no Mecha Roxy. Yeah, probably not in the near future. Unless I just like think of some punchline where like she just has to be in like a diva suit. I don't see Mecha Roxy happening. And yeah, I do jump around a lot when I'm drawing. Do you do any collaborations with any other artists? Yes and no. I have before, like I did work for an animation studio until somewhat recently, so I would do, storyboards or backgrounds, and someone else on the team would do like the actual animation or the characters. Like each project I was on had at least like two other people on the team. But mostly when it comes to comics, I prefer to just do my own thing. Although I am working on something with my boyfriend right now, so that's like the one exception. Is there a particular artist or writer that you gravitate towards or otherwise draw inspiration from, like Mike Grell or Neil Gaiman? I love Neil Gaiman, although I more think of him as a writer than an artist. I don't think my comic has much in common with his work. Um, For Roxy, I would say I was mostly inspired by like Sarah Anderson, who does Sarah Scribbles, and Kate Beaton, who did Hark a Vagrant, and like there are so many great comedic webcomic writers and artists out there, especially now. So it's easy to find inspiration from those sources if you're looking for it. Do you ever struggle with something? I'm awful at hands and feet. Um, Anything that's like that has to be precisely symmetrical, like furnitures, automobiles, bicycles, like things that have like very precise like specifications as to how they're supposed to look. It's not like drawing, a plant where you can just put the leaves anywhere. If you draw a bicycle, there's pretty much a right and a wrong way to do it. So stuff like that is what I probably have the most trouble with. Oh, my friend Lindsay is in the comments and she misses me. Lindsay, I miss you too. Oh, uh, what do you do in your free time aside from maybe art and stuff? Um, I do a lot of just sort of chilling and reading and watching Netflix right now. Although I occasionally try to do something that's creative, that's not related to this. Like I play piano and stuff like that. But lately, um, what I do in my free time is like watch a lot of news and get depressed. So depends on the week, I guess. Hmm. Oh, that's a good idea. I do those in Illustrator and use the draw one half, copy, and mirror trick. That's a great idea. I might steal that if I have to draw like I don't know a car or something in the future. I might just have to steal that idea. What are the brushes that you use? I just downloaded like a free bundle of brushes that are specifically for Krita. Basically, they're just different brush pens, so they're all pressure sensitive and have like a rounded tip. So They're not like calligraphy pens, but um, I found them on a website which I do not remember the name of right now, but I'll post that when I'm done with the video. I'll have a lot of links for you guys when I'm done here. Um, been getting a lot of questions about what program I'm using and stuff. Don't worry, Rob Liefeld is awful at hands and feet too. I will not comment on Rob Liefeld right now. I just want to have positive thoughts while I'm working on this. What's something surprising that would be on Roxy's Netflix watch list? Ooh, I don't know. Like, my first instinct was to say like Haunting of Hill House, but I don't know. Roxy being into spooky stuff isn't really that surprising, I guess. Like, it's pretty much all spooky stuff, and then like Great British Baking Show. Um, so like just like the two polar opposite types of programming are mainly what I imagine she watches. Um, no worries. I am hoping that this becomes a regular thing that I do. And this was like a really informal, impromptu video session, so I wasn't even sure anybody would be tuning in. I'm very pleasantly surprised at how many of you are. Uh, so we'll see where that goes in the future. And hopefully I'll have like something more to talk about then. I feel like there's a lot of awkward silences. Hands are really hard to draw. Uh, I feel like I kind of cheat where like I'll just draw hands from angles where like you only need to see like the thumb and one finger. Like I'll like hide the other fingers. I find that like the more I try to be precise and draw out every little part of the hand, the less good it actually ends up looking. So I might just be lazy. I don't know. Oh, well, I'm glad you like watching me draw. Thank you. I'll probably be signing off here in about another 5 minutes. I just wanted to see what this was like. Make sure I could share my screen with you guys and stuff. So I am the infamous Roxy, I guess. I don't know how infamous I actually am. Hmm. It's so cool to see so many of you guys in the comments and like yeah, hear all the amazing compliments you have to offer. It's very much appreciated. And people who have to run and can't stay for the whole stream, that is totally fine. Like I'm thrilled that you guys showed up at all. So thank you so much. Oh, don't link people in. I'm probably gonna be done soon. Did you know Roxy was a famous nightclub in Amsterdam? I do know. I did not know that. I wonder if I ever travel to Amsterdam, if there's going to be like a communication issue where I say, oh, I created Roxy, and maybe someone will think I'm a nightclub owner. I always draw a pentagon as a palm and fill it out from there. Looks better, but it's harder to be dynamic. It's a good way of drawing hands. I think everybody has like their own little shortcuts and methods, like if they've been drawing for a while, with how to make it a little easier to draw certain things. I'm actually gonna start using. Oh, I need to start using a straight line tool instead of just trying to draw these by hand. Make the brush a little smaller. And just, nope, that didn't work. There it is. Mm. I'm glad you guys are enjoying watching me draw. Really nice to hear. Again, apologies for the long awkward silences. I'm not used to having to talk while I do this, so hopefully I'll get better about keeping the conversation going. Oh, apparently the founder of the Roxy nightclub in Amsterdam died, and on the day of his funeral, the club burned down. That is crazy. I have never heard of that before. So I guess this is them in quarantine. Yeah, pretty much. I sort of just wanted to do like a little snapshot of them hanging out at home. I imagine there's a lot of just downtime for them right now. So, like for a lot of us. Hope you guys are all doing okay in quarantine. I feel like I'm pretty well suited to it. Like I didn't go out much already, so like it's not that much of an adjustment for me to stay in most nights, but I know it can be really isolating for a lot of people, so I hope everybody's taking care of themselves. Probably gonna just come back to that in a bit. Well, I think this is probably where I'm gonna call it for now. I'm gonna go figure out what I'm gonna do for dinner tonight and call some friends. So I want to thank you guys all for hopping on and watching me live stream this and sort of stumble my way through for the first time. Hopefully there will be more to come in the future, and I will talk to you soon. Um, so I'm gonna stop sharing my screen here in just a second. Still figuring out how to do this, and I hope you guys have a really good rest of your day.